Over the past couple of months, late winter through into, well, all through spring, we've been involved in what's been quite a big project and a very satisfying one in replanting and regenerating an area of woods. We had to cut down about 3 acres, I guess, of pines. They were probably at least 20 years old, been planted by the previous owners, and they were too close, to the house, and they were also quite a danger to the cabin. They were getting unsafe, and some of them were being blown down. Last winter, I think 7 got blown down in the wind, so it was a bit scary. But at the same time, cutting, getting them cut down, it was, I found it really hard. You have to do these things sometimes, but the sound of the chainsaws and the trees falling with a loud crash, it really, I guess it's kind of I guess it terrifies me. It puts me into fight-flight mode, and I find it very hard to find my balance when that's going on. That's, it had to be done. And then afterwards, when we looked at the area, oh my goodness, I felt just such a sense of overwhelm, because they take the big trees away to be used, but the top branches and all the side branches are still there, and it's a huge mess. You can't even walk there. We started to try and clear it, Dean and I, by just ourselves, by hand, piling the branches up, and it's just too much. We didn't really know what to do, and you talk to people around here, and they just say, oh, burn it or clear it with machines, and again the sounds of the machines just crashing through, it really upsets me. So we waited, we weren't sure what to do, we spoke to various people, and eventually we had to get someone with a digger, like a backhoe, a big machine, to come and clear it and pile the branches up into big piles so we could burn them. And the guy that came and did that actually did a really good job, because one of the things that's really upsetting about cutting down the pines is that there were some young oaks, and I say young, some of them were at least 10 years old, and they all got completely destroyed. And that, to see these shattered trunks of these young trees, I find that hard. I have a real affinity for the trees. I love the fact that we live surrounded by trees. I don't think we have enough trees in the world. Apart from the fact that they perform such a valuable and necessary service in maintaining the rain cycle and the temperatures and the soil. Anyway, it's really hard to see them be cut down. And anyway, the guy did a great job clearing and making piles, and he actually was sensitive enough to be able to save some of the little trees, which was a real surprise. And then we had the job of working out where we were going to plant native woodland trees. Some would grow, but others, some would grow naturally, obviously, but others we wanted to plant. We wanted to make the area not just, woods, there you are, but kind of woodland landscape where there were paths and we could go and sit amongst the trees. And there seemed to be an area where it was quite moist. It looked like a spring wanted to come up. So I've been trying to encourage that using some biogeometry, a group of 16 stones and a group of 11 stones, which the water likes, and it's retained its dampness there, that area. So I don't know, maybe one day spring will come up. And we knew we had to get some more help in, so we had a woofer guest, and he turned out to be a real, what you'd call a fine young man. It was quite funny. I put an ad on the woofer site, which I've not done before, and he was the first person that applied on the first day that it went, and he was perfect. You only need one. And I don't know whether we'll continue with any more woofer guests, certainly not for a while. Miriam was also here with us, so we had we managed to lay out paths and planted about 70 trees. Since then, we've planted, after a woofer guest, Fraser, left, we also planted about another 70 trees, so we've planted about 150 trees in total in this area. And now there are small oaks and some other, ash, and a lot of cherry trees beginning to shoot up. It's and that's really, really gratifying. We after we'd burned the piles, these massive piles, we laid quite a lot of grass seed, because one of the challenges of this area is that we have a lot of brambles. Brambles can be a problem, but they also provide a great service in that they cover the soil quickly, they protect it, they stop soil erosion, but they also compete with resources for the young trees, and they're not really great for woods that you want to walk around and walk through. So a big challenge was clearing the brambles, and we haven't done it all. Fraser managed to clear most of the paths before he left, and now we're cutting the brambles as they come up. And again, it's how do you do this? Normally they just cut and clear and just blast their way through everything here, but if it was just left naturally, the brambles would grow, the trees that survived would survive, they would grow, provide a canopy cover, and gradually the brambles would die out. But in trying to support that process, we're having to identify all the small trees as they're starting to grow, and then cut the brambles around them, which is a bit more of a delicate job. It is rewarding. We're seeing like the live oaks grow, Pyrenean oak grow, like I said, an awful lot of cherry trees. I don't know whether they're going to be edible. They look like several different types. There's a lot of wild cherry that grows around here, and it's the fruits are very small and quite bitter, but the trees are beautiful and they blossom. So some of these look like wild cherries, and some, I don't know, they might be from cherries that we've eaten or just welcome guests. So now at the end of April, the grass seed that we sowed is starting to come up. The paths are looking lovely, and the ash are beginning to come into leaf. I really love the ash trees. They grow very, very well here, and they have a really beautiful leaf. We also planted some beech, which you don't see very much around here, but they're looking beautiful as well. And hopefully the maple. There is a local maple that we planted, a European maple. It's not as red as the Canadian or North American maple, but it does have a lovely colour. So we planted that and some witch hazel. Probably have some more shrubs to plant later. But actually right now, it might not look like much to anybody else looking at it, but from where we've come from with that overwhelm and devastation, it's starting to look good and feel satisfying. It feels like a really good project to have replanted the woods, and then to see the life force and the vitality and just the sheer energy of nature bursting forth from these like shattered oak trees, and obviously seeds of plants that were hidden in the soil, just waiting for that right moment. And you really get to experience real interaction with nature on these kind of projects, because we had good weather, clear weather for most of the planting, not too rainy, pleasantly sunny to be out in it. A few days it was actually too hot and we didn't do any planting. And then as soon as we got the trees in, we've had quite a bit of rain to help them bed in and settle. A lot of rain at night, a little bit of frost, which was kind of usual for late March, early April, but not too much. And the trees are doing really well, and you kind of see, well, is that an accident? And I don't think so, because this corresponds to what we've noticed in our everyday life and on other projects as we interact more with nature and organise our lives with nature. We're off-grid, so we have to do, it's better for us to do certain things at certain times, like washing when it's sunny and things like that. How we use power. You find that there's a different kind of rhythm. It becomes easier to do things at the right time. When it comes to planting and growing things, that's important. You can't plant corn in January and expect it to grow. And this flow happens, and it's not just in us, it's actually with nature. So nature's provided the rain, so most of the trees, well, pretty well all of them actually, are doing fine. I think we might have a couple of casualties with the cypress that probably needed a bit more water. We mulched them, and I think the mulch stopped the rain and the dew, so we might have to go and have a look at that. But generally, this has been such a great project to go from that overwhelm to the great feeling of satisfaction of working with nature and planting what will one day be a beautiful wooded area hopefully for us to enjoy, but certainly for anyone else too. And boy, did we learn a lot. So we've still got a lot of brambles to dig up and maintain, and as we're moving into May now, it's going to get hotter, so through this season we're going to have to do a lot of watering to support those little trees. Well, hopefully Mama Nature will help us on that. It'll be really good to see if that spring comes up. Watering is something of a challenge because our well pump won't handle getting water that far via hose pipe, so we have to use a combination of hose and filling up cans, and so that's quite a lot for 150 trees. So Mama Nature's going to have to help, but we feel good. I feel good going into the new season, having replanted